This is Math Minutes with Majan Mines, where we are reviewing skills you need to know to find success in grade 12. Today's video is partial fractions number 1. So here we're going to talk about how we actually do partial fractions. In this first question, I want us to notice that we have what I've referred to as distinct linear factors. That's this x and this x plus 1. They are different from each other. Furthermore, all of these first few videos I'm going to do are going to be proper fractions, so we don't need to worry about long division or improper fractions. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take what they give us, and we are going to write it, first of all, in a form that looks like this. A over x, that's the first factor, plus b over the second factor, x plus 1. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. Now what I'm going to suggest at this point, there are other methods, but my suggestion is, notice that we created this pink from blue. So we know that this one has an x and this one has an x plus 1, this one has an x, this one has an x plus 1. I don't like fractions. So I am going to just, in my first step, get rid of all of these fractions. I'm going to eliminate all the fractions here, x, and I'm going to do this yellow, and I'm going to multiply both sides by x times x plus 1. And this is going to be a pattern that we're going to do in many of the questions, so kind of try to understand what's going on here. I just chose this denominator, and I'm multiplying both sides by the denominator. So what will I have then is I'll have this yellow canceling with this blue. Now over here, when I bring this yellow piece into there, before I do that, let's write this down. So this side is going to be 1 minus 2x. And over here, I'm going to have a multiplied by, now look at this, when this yellow multiplies by this pink x, the pink x and the yellow x are going to eliminate, and I'm going to be left with x plus 1, and let's put him in yellow. So I'm going to be left with x plus 1, because this x and that x eliminated. Then I'm going to have plus b, and when I open the bracket again, when I bring this whole yellow piece and put him to the b piece, the x plus 1 and the x plus 1 will cancel, and all that I will have left here is an x. And so what I have done now is I took what was blue and pink, and I've turned it into an expression that does not have any fractions in it. Now maybe I should have said this, and let's do it right now. My final answer when I am done is going to look like this. When I have expressed this as partial fractions, I'm going to have something up here over x, we're going to call that guy a, plus something right here over x plus 1. So basically what we need to do is figure out what a is, the number that goes up there, figure out what b is, the number that goes up there, and I'll be done. And so that's what we're going to do right now. So we have written it as pink. We've then multiplied by the denominator x over x plus 1, and now we just need to calculate what's a and what's b. So we're going to use something called substitution here. I don't think we should call it a trick, but it kind of feels sometimes like a trick. What we can do here is we just need to figure out what will make this 0. Let me ask that question again. What will make this 0? X plus 1, something plus 1 that will equal 0, that's going to be a negative 1. Or, alternatively, if you wanted to ask the question differently, what would make this 0? B times, well, over here, if I let x equal to 0. So this is where the substitution comes in. We're going to choose a number right here that will make this 0, do the question once. We're going to choose a number that will make this piece 0, do the question, and we'll find our a's and our b's. Let me show you how this is going to work. So we're imagining for a moment, because by the way, a and b are going to be the same no matter what. Not the same number, but a and b are going to be fixed values. X's can change for any value in the universe. So what we will do here is we will write 1 minus 2 times negative 1. So I'm putting in this negative 1. And then here I'm going to have equals a. Now you don't have to write this piece, but look what it will be. The reason we chose negative 1 is because it will make this 0. So what's that going to do? It's going to make all of this piece 0, So then all we'll have left is plus b times -1. So let's just see what happens when I do this -1 piece. I'm going to have 1 minus 2 times -1, which is going to be 1 plus 2, which is going to be 3, equals, this is all going to be 0 right there. This is 0. And it's 0 times a, which is 0. And then all I have here is minus b. So I can solve this by dividing by -1, dividing by -1. And this tells me that b equals -3. So if I come back up to the top, what I have just done is I found out that b is equal to -3. And if I come back down here, I can find one more time, do the exact same process, but this time do it with x equals 0. So we need to see that equation. So we have 1 minus 2 times, I'm going to put a 0 in there, equals a brackets something plus 1 plus b times something. So what's going in there? We're going to put a 0 in here, we're going to put a 0 right there, and we're going to put a 0 right there. And then notice we chose this 0 because it will make this whole piece equal to 0. So we have 1 minus 2 times 0, that's 1 minus 0, which is 1, equals to a, what's 0 plus 1? 0 plus 1 is 1, so this is 1a, and then this is going to be 0. So he disappears, and we find out that a equals to 1. So then we come back up here, and a is equaling to 1, so we can put a 1 right in there. And essentially now we have completed the problem. We could go through and check that it's right by finding a common denominator between these two, and we would find out that it will turn into this. But let me explain just in recapping what we've done here. We took the expression, we wrote it as two fractions with a over the first factor and b over the second factor. Then I brought in this yellow piece, multiplied both sides by the yellow, which is the same as the denominator, so these canceled. And then notice over here, this x canceled with that one and left me with ax plus 1. This x plus 1 canceled with that one and left me with bx. So that gave me this expression, which is a very important expression. From there, I looked and I said, what will make the a term 0? And it's a -1. So then I solved right here. Then I said, what will make the b term 0? And I solved here. And using substitution, I found a equals and I found b equals. So our final answer is 1 over x. And it says, okay, there's one more thing I could do here. If you want, if it might be better sometimes, or you might see it sometimes written like this. Instead of plus a -3, it would be just written as -3 over x plus 1. And that's our answer. If you found this video useful, go ahead and subscribe in the top left, and then head on over to majohnminds.com to check out more videos and resources.